Hey, kids, how are you? Welcome into the show. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show, coming to you from Quaker Steak and Lube in beautiful State College on this Tuesday afternoon. Nothing really going on in the world of sports, Goon, so hey, have a good time. We'll talk to you again Thursday.
Slow few weeks.
Well, I guess there's a couple of
few slow weeks.
Let's start with the Olympics, and there's a lot to digest, and it's just interesting listening and reading through various commentaries, and I just got inadvertently stumbled across message boards on wrestling and projections for the Olympics, and it's just funny. People's perceptions versus reality. There's a couple of things that are just jumping off the page to me. One is how much we take for granted greatness and how much we really shouldn't, especially consistent greatness. When you look back at Michael Jordan and those Bulls teams, right, and here at Penn State with wrestling, when you look at the consistency with which Bo Nickel and Zane Rutherford and David Taylor and Jason Nolf and Ed Ruth went out and won, it's like, well, yeah, no, that's those guys just do that. No, they don't actually. It is training. It is being in the right mindset day in and day out. And even then, right, like it still takes something special to perform at your best consistently every time. And if anything, what these Olympics are teaching me is to truly appreciate those that can be consistently great, because it is, no matter how talented you are, that is no easy feat. And the Simone Biles situation is just it's fascinating to me, because nobody in their right mind can say Simone Biles hasn't stepped up time and time again when the pressure's on, right? But it takes a toll, and different people. I was talking with somebody. It's like, man, what's going on? All of this. All of a sudden, everybody's having these mental health issues. We never had that back in the day. No, we never heard about it. You better believe we had it. We just weren't naming it that. But people, I mean, we've seen all kinds of people break for all kinds of reasons. Or just say, hey, that's enough, right? I mean, you go back to Steve Blass with the Pirates. Again, I don't know whether it was, it was definitely a mental issue of some kind. Again, yeah. Whether or not it was what we would deem mental health, I don't know. But I mean, obviously, I got to a point where he just couldn't throw the baseball effectively. I mean, there are literally thousands of different examples of people that, man, they were at the top and then all of a sudden, something happened. And again, it's a whole variety of things, but in today's culture, I think it's even more so than ever before, right? Because of all of the social media pressures, all of the advertising opportunities, and all of the glorification, and so many more media outlets now that, again, do love to build up and break down and build back up and break back down individuals based on things that you actually generally know nothing about in terms of firsthand knowledge. But it's just been fascinating, from the USA basketball to the women's soccer to Simone Biles, the judgment and the different feelings. I have a lot of the same feelings, so I'm not, this isn't judging the judgers. I'm just, it really is, again, just driving home for me that there is nothing automatic, right? Like, everybody just says, Tom Brady, yeah, he's a machine. He works at it every day. Of course, he's going to go out there and perform. Well, no, not of course. Like, you still got to go out and do it time and time and time again. And again, at some point, no matter how much you love something and how good you may be at it, right? There are days where, again, we all have, even if you have a job that you absolutely love, there are days where you're like, oh God, I am just done with this for today. Or maybe you're not even done. You're just not. You're not on your game on a given day.
I mean, if you're going to go with the Biles situation, which is what I tried to avoid the whole day because I was getting mad at everything that was. Because I just think that it's all. I don't know. I mean, she asked for all this attention, and when push came to shove, it came down to it, and it was time to perform, and it wasn't going right. It turned into, oh, I got hurt. I had a mental breakdown. I hope it wasn't that. I hope it,
Yeah.
People are going to say it's the mental health, but I just think that's too much of an easy excuse for anybody anymore. I mean, I'm watching, you brought up men's basketball team. I see today that the players are upset because they got to run Greg Popovich's offense. Well, guess what? He's the coach.
Yeah.
Just go, he's coaching you. I mean, that's the way he coaches, so he's the coach, so go listen to him do it. It doesn't stop the fact that they had 0 for 7 on 3-pointers in the last 3 minutes of that game.
Well, and it goes back to something we've been talking about with, and again, maybe it's just the I don't know if it's evolution or, but at least the way that society as well as sports is going, and for those of us that grew up with a certain mindset, it is disheartening, but maybe at the end of the day, it is the way we should have been looking at it all along. I really don't know, but that is right. When we were growing up, it was, listen, if at least with my parents, and I think with a lot of our parents, it was, listen, we're not going to force you to do anything, but if you're going to say you're going to be on the swim team, you're going to go to swim practice every day.
And you're not quitting.
Right. And now, if after the season is over, you're like, okay,
Yep.
You know what? I don't want to go through that again. Fine. But once you say you are going to do something, you are going to follow through and make that commitment. And listen, again, I'm not, as we've talked about with like the transfer portal, like I don't like that it's as easy as it is. Because I do think there is something to guiding it out. That being said, again, I can name individuals that I know that got stuck in a situation that they absolutely hated. And to this day, it was a miserable college, which should be a wonderful experience, right? It was absolutely miserable. They were with coaches and teammates they did not get along with. And yeah, you ought to be able to move out of that if after a year or two, you're like, yeah, this isn't the right place for me. And again,
in that same breath,
trying to get that balance between, okay, yeah, it's not the right place versus, hey, I'm not getting what I.
But I think the portal was set up for coach. My personal opinion is that people felt trapped when coaches left. You know what I mean? And they felt like they couldn't get away. They had to take a year off, and it was like they didn't want to waste a year waiting. So I'm pretty sure that was the way that the portal was set up, I think.
Yes.
The fact that they're going back to the portal, then saying they're not having to skip time, they can transfer within conference. They keep on adding to that, to the detriment. I mean, of the game. Did you see that Tate Martell is on his fourth school now in 6 years, and he still has 2 years of eligibility left? I'm laughing when I read all that.
But listen, it's we've been going through. I've been talking with some different people in different businesses, and I'm not going to get into names, but. Again, when we were growing up, there were a lot, not everybody, but there were a lot of people that worked at companies. I mean, my grandfather, my mom's dad worked for Ashland Oil for 40 plus years. I mean, that's where he went and that's what he did.
Yep.
And that was typical. How many people do you know?
Love their job?
No. How many people do you know that are in the same job now? My brother-in-law is with a company that he started with when he was, and he's my age, or early 50s. And, he started with that company at age 23 or 24. I can name.
Not many, man.
Yeah, a handful of people that I know that have been at the same company for more than 20 years. I mean, it is very few. It was
the norm.
Again, it was the norm at one time. And again, at the end of the day, it was the, hey, team concept, you're going to go all in. And again, maybe that was just bad all along because it led to morale issues and not wanting to, or maybe not even not wanting, but not realizing your potential. as an individual. So again, I'm not even necessarily longing for the good old days. I do think it is a fact that there is a difference. There is more of the, hey, I'm going to look out for me. And again, at the end of the day, me and my family, right, that probably is what you should be doing, right? More so than looking out for, individuals who, again, in many cases, and you go back through the years, we're looking at you as an expendable commodity anyway, right? Like, now, there were some very good companies that I think that appreciation did go both ways, and it was rewarded. The good work was rewarded over years, and all of that. But I think, again, sports and society reflecting each other. But there just aren't many people that are loyal. And in fairness, again, there are not many companies that are are loyal and are going to just run with an employee
because there'd be 10 guys trying to get your grandfather's job.
Well, and that's the other thing.
Part of they had to run scared a little bit. But okay, here is when I said that these Olympics are going to be a precursor to what I'm going to see because of the NIL.
Yep.
I hope that this is not going to be the norm of, okay, they knew they were not going to win the team title, correct? They were too many points behind, and it was all of a sudden that it was like, okay, I feel too much pressure. I'm having a mental issue. I need to move on. Okay, but then she's now is going to compete as in the individual, and then you got to say to yourself, okay, were you hurt? Were you injured? Were you this or that? And I hope that it's not going to be like this in college football when it's like, okay, when the team gets down, you lose 2 games, you no chance of winning a conference title, no chance of going to the playoff. Why even play? Then why don't you just move on and say, okay, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm done. I've already made $100,000 this year. Because of the NIL contract, I don't need to do it. I can worry about my NFL career now. And that's what is sort of scary to me. And the other thing that's scary to me is that, I hope to God that this is not the case, and that is that it's just sort of like this, okay, we're not winning the team title, so I'm going to save myself for the individual title because I'm going to have that much bigger of a comeback story, much easier, just a bigger way to sell my brand type of thing. And, I know that there was injury possibilities involved if she was not there mentally and stuff like that to go do the vault. But there's 2 ways to look at that.
Yeah.
And, now you're sitting there. She's by far the greatest gymnast in the history of gymnastics. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
They don't have 4 Kamanichi moves. There's at least 4 Bilas moves that are named after her because of what she could do.
Yeah.
So she's going to come out and go do the individual, win the gold, and then it's going to be all of a sudden that's an ESPY right there. You know what I mean? The comeback story of the year. She overcame mental health, and they're going to call it an injury now. That's the other thing I get sort of scared about. Is it an injury? Is it mental health, or is it an excuse? There's a fine line because there are people who do need help with mental health issues and stuff like that, where are you just using that as an excuse because you don't want to do it, or you're more worried about how you're going to look, or if you do screw up, it's going to be bad for your brand? And that sort of scares the hell out of me. It really does. And I've been talking about it all day with people. And yes, I love the fact that we are talking about mental health and mental awareness and this and that because people for years didn't talk about it. And to the detriment of society, to the detriment of families and husbands and wives, brothers and sisters and teams, they paid the punishment for it because if somebody was not right mentally, then they're not helping the team out. Let alone what they could do to themselves physically, hurt themselves. So I mean, again, I hope that this is not just like a crutch that anybody can fall back on and go back to the men's basketball team. Now they're not hitting 3-pointers or hitting shots. Is that the coach's fault because he's running a different offense? He's getting you in a position where you're having an open shot. It's your job to hit the open shot. And now you complain about the coach because you can't take the heat because it's getting turned up pretty good on you. You're not that good. The days of us walking out and rolling the basketball out and beating every team in the world are over.
Yeah.
Dude, we have the greatest athletes in the world playing professional basketball in the NBA. We're not playing team basketball. Any one of those guys can go to the rim, but they're going to have there's the help defense, which these guys don't understand because they know the NBA way of playing one-on-one basketball. It's not team defense, not team offense, and they're getting embarrassed. So when you guys are getting embarrassed, all of a sudden it's the coach's fault. It's too much of an excuse. We're too easy to give excuses anymore for losses and not performing. I mean, I've been thinking about it all day. I've been trying not to go off, but I mean, everybody is going off and saying, "Oh, well, she's Simone is, she's so great, and God bless her for doing this and that." And again, I hope it was something like that and not just pressure because it's not pressure. You're performing. You brought the pressure upon yourself. I mean, does David Taylor wear a Magic Man tattoo on his arm that says "I'm the greatest"? Like Simone wears the GOAT thing on her uniform, or she's self-promoting herself. She has 10 billion followers on Facebook and Instagram and this and that. So she's putting herself out there as that. And when it wasn't happening, the first thing she did was pull out. I hope that wasn't the reason. I hope it's not a precursor to thing that's going to come. That's going to be the norm in our society for the next 50 years.
Well, and again, the other, it's just has me thinking about a lot of different things, and one of them is the appreciation for the people that are willing to put themselves in the arena. Bill Buckner is going to be the all-time example, but I mean that could literally happen to anybody, right? I mean, because Buckner was a phenomenal
great player. It wasn't a baseball player; he was a great fielder for his whole career.
And so but again, if you are in that position, those things can happen. It is sports, it is life, and again, the best in anything. You take the best orator, I guarantee you can go back and find a speech where they gave an or got lost, or it happens. The greatest race car driver has crashed. The greatest restaurateur has put out a couple of dishes that that wasn't a good. I mean, you go through. So the greatest in anything, again, part of being the greatest is that you're going to have those moments. Tom Brady will throw the occasional interception.
Sure.
That has happened even when he was at the very top of his game. But that ability to keep coming back and fight through it. And I guess that's what's and again, I don't know what all is, and none of us do. And that's why it's hard to be overly critical for me of anybody. But again, speaking just for me, I would have more respect for Simone, and not that I don't have respect, so don't read more than what I'm saying here.
She's the greatest of all time.
Yes, but if she's just having an off day, I would have more respect battling through and taking 11 and 12 scores and saying, man, I just I was completely off today. It just was not my day. Than quitting. And that's what, again, it feels like. And again, I think a big part of it is just the mentality we grew up with, which was, again, you just don't quit. It doesn't matter how much it sucks. You keep battling.
I don't know who said this, but
I
read a comment on Twitter. The best analogy I heard was quarterback throws 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl. He's not going to go in at halftime and say, I'm not playing anymore. You're going to come out and you're going to remedy what you've done. And if you messed up or you're not doing it right.
That being said, I mean, there have been guys that
completely cowered and completely under pressure, like wilted.
Well, and again, for a wide variety of reasons. You go back over the years and guys that didn't make weight at nationals that made weight all year. Well, yeah, but it was, my God.
I didn't make weight again this year.
Yeah, I know. You tried. But it's, in sports like gymnastics, most of these sports, but gymnastics is a different level of commitment that you need to. God. I mean, what you have to battle through mentally and physically from the youngest of ages. And again, I don't care how much you love it. And I do think Simone Biles, from all accounts, loves gymnastics. Sure. I mean, I don't think this is a situation where, she was forced into something that she didn't like, but she was just really good at. But again, no matter how good you are, sports like wrestling or gymnastics, it's just the mindset that you have to have and the mental and physical ability to battle through, because there's nobody in gymnastics that gets to the stage that Simone is, and there's nobody that gets to the Olympic stage in wrestling without tremendous perseverance, along with everything else, skill set and everything else, tremendous perseverance mentally and physically. Right, you do not get to this level of gymnastics without having. You might not have broken bones, but you've had injuries. Your body has suffered to get to where you're at in sports like wrestling and gymnastics in particular. And again, the mental resolve that takes day in and day out is to be lauded. I mean, it's truly amazing what these people are able to achieve and put their bodies and minds through.
Yes.
And it's why, again, while part of me is like, my God, you don't give up on your team no matter what. And I can't help but go back to Carrie Strug and one of the all-time great Olympic moments. I mean, my God, you talk about somebody that was absolutely going to do everything for her team.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about you want to talk about somebody that had every reason to say, listen, okay, I'm done, right? And I don't think nobody rightfully would have criticized her. My God, well, yeah, your legs broken, obviously. You're given a pass. And she's like, well, by God, I'm at least going to try to do this for my team.
Yeah,
and so I don't know.
To be the negative Nelly here, and that's did she bring this attention to herself by promoting herself as the GOAT, doing all those commercials, making hundreds of millions of dollars as the GOAT, and when it wasn't happening for the team title, she pulled out. I mean, there has to be an answer for that. Yep. If she's not, I mean, she said she physically, mentally was not there to do what she was going to attempt next. And dude, you can get seriously hurt doing that. Now, did you bring that pressure upon yourself? Did you feel that pressure from your parents, from your coaches, from your country? I mean, it's the world we're going down, man.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I keep on bringing it back to the NIL stuff, and guys will be more worried about their brand and this and that. You might have guys who may not play well, and instead of going out there and working harder, just say, "Hey, I'm done. I'm not playing. I pulled a hamstring," to protect their brand. And that's insane to think about, but it's sort of what it has to be talked about. I'm sorry. I mean, I love the fact that we are worried about mental health in athletes and in society in general.
Yep.
Because you grew up the same era I did, and that was shut your mouth, go back to work. And it was even worse. My godmother's here. She's 84 years old, visiting from Arizona, and we're talking about, the way she grew up and stuff like that. I mean, and it was just we thought, we were tough and this and that. I mean, come on. Now, you're talking about somebody who was born in 1937 in the midst of the Depression.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. I mean, that's pressure, is getting through all of that and all. So,
yeah. No, it's a
different world we're living in, buddy.
Yeah, it is. And again, I don't know. Many ways it's better. Some ways it at least feels worse. But I don't know. Maybe at the end of the day, this is how it should have been all along. It's certainly. It's just interesting to think about and to see the wide range of reactions too. And
you agree? And I'm with you on that.
And again, it's one of those where I can see both sides and I kind of feel both sides, right? Like I don't, in part because of my wife and her work with the Jana Marie Foundation. I mean, I've had my eyes open to,
yes,
just how significant some of these mental health issues are, and just how dangerous it can be, especially in the formative years if it's not properly addressed by those close to the individual that is dealing with the mental health issues. But the other part of it is, again, even those, that I keep, what's been playing through my mind most of all throughout the day is the Kale, and this was, I don't even know now, 4 or 5 years ago, they came out with the T-shirts for the wrestling team that had "So What" on the back, and we would constantly have people asking, and everybody on the team was wearing them, and people were like, hey, what is that supposed to mean? And when the kids would walk through the practice room at the wrestling facility, and I'm completely paraphrasing everything here, but Kale would say,
I love the saying. I love it.
But Kale would say to the kids, hey, you having girlfriend problems, struggling with school, having a tough day? Yeah, so what? Are you going to let that stop you from pursuing your dream here of winning a national championship in wrestling, or becoming, at least a better wrestler today when you're in the room? And I mean, the truth is, every day, every one of us you're dealing with your own issues of some kind, whether it's a physical injury, a mental health, or fatigue, whatever. And again, every day you make the decision, hey, I'm going to get up out of bed today. Like that is a choice that you're making to go, hey, I'm going to go try to confront and take on the world, and good for you. But again, there are all kinds of excuses that are readily available for all of us every day. Well, I didn't get any sleep last night. I didn't, this wasn't organized the way I thought it would be. This wasn't set up the way I was told. This isn't. And so what? You have a job to do. Are you going to go do it?
Have we talked about the blue line at football?
Your paycheck or not? No, but it's very much the same line. I think we have. Yeah,
Joe, the old man, you had the blue line right there from the locker room to the football field. When you cross that blue line, you're mine. It's all you're worried about is football. We're going to get better today, this and that. You leave all that stuff behind, and when you cross that blue line and go back to the locker room, then you can take care of all that stuff. Blank it out. You're worried about getting better as a football team, as a football player, moving on. You got to stop it, and that's it. All that stuff goes behind you when you cross that blue line.
And what is and all of that is right, an attempt to compartmentalize your day, right? When you're, and that was. It makes sense when you're told, right? If you're working on a term paper, well, you can't do anything about being a better football player right now. What you can do is become a better student and finish your assignment. When you're on the football field, you can't do anything about becoming a better student at the moment, or improving the relationship with your girlfriend, or whatever. I mean,
it's always the girlfriends too.
On the football field, the only thing you can do. But the truth of that is, and again, I think every coach at every level teaches that, right? Or preaches that. It's like, well, right now, how many people do you know? Because I don't know very many. I do know a few that are truly able to compartmentalize. And I mean, I truly try, but I'm telling you, I can't do it. I just at least through 52 years of life, I've not been able to. I love the idea, and I try. I mean, I really do. It's like. But my mind, I can't, if a family member is having some problems that I want to help with, and I can't do anything about it. And I know that while I'm at work and I'm trying to get, delivery schedule lined up. But man, my mind is wandering over there.
I'm thinking about it in my head, Ironhead. And the only time that you can really compartmentalize is on game day, I think. You know what I mean? Because I would be thinking about that. And just in the 30 seconds,
people can. I mean,
when it's game day, everything, nothing else matters. It's like that's it. But it's tough to replicate practice to game day because you're still a college kid. You're still 18 to 23 years old. Even as a father, you have to. I'll tell you, my father had a temper on him, and they weren't doing well at work. We felt it at home.
Yep.
There was definitely arguments at home and loud screaming and stuff like that. You definitely have that. But I think when I was a player. I really thought that everything it was about the game that day, and that was it. I mean, that was when I could compartmentalize that stuff. But Joe saying, leave that stuff behind. It's physically impossible to do. You can't do that.
It's very difficult. I do think there are people that can, and I think they're very, very special. I think there's a mental. I don't know if it's toughness or just aptitude or whatever.
Or narcissists, and they can just worry about themselves and not everybody else. I mean.
But it is. It's a very it's a skill. I mean, I really do think it's a skill, and I think it's a wonderful asset if you are able to do it. And again, I think most people can do it to a relative degree, right? But to actually be able to, okay, nope, for this 10 minutes, and especially in today's world, I mean, I again, and there I am providing the own excuses. Well, in today's world, how are you going to with the cell phone? Well, you set the cell phone aside, moron. Well, but I can't. I got to make sure.
What's so many calls?
But it is. It's hard to just stay focused on any task. I mean, I'm
with you.
And just with the lives that we're leading these days, again, it's a wonderful skill set, and it's something that I think everybody should strive for. I just think it is much, much easier said than done. That being said, I am enjoying the Olympic coverage. I wish I could my schedule is such I'm not watching as much live as I'd like in the morning, but I have seen a good bit of it.
Next week's your week.
Yes. Next week I will be locked in on the wrestling as much
we have
as
a schedule yet?
I possibly can. We do, and I'll bring it with me on Thursday. I don't think I even have it. I do have it actually written
Just send
down.
it to me, please.
Yeah, I will do that.
I don't know. I'll be away, but I'll be tuning in somewhere, somehow, some way, Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the Olympics, but it's tough to watch. I mean,
well, here's my thing. And again, this is just me, and this is I'm becoming more old fogey with each passing day, and I completely concede that point. But back in my day, the Olympics were really the Olympics because you had your weightlifting, you had your swimming, you had your track and field, you had your wrestling. I'm sorry, the skateboarding and listen, the skill set involved there,
amazing.
Hats off, it is absolutely amazing. These are not Olympic sports.
Oh.
And again, this is just me. I realize the younger demographic is
and all that stuff.
Yes, the X Games stuff. It just, for me, and I can't. I have tried. I just can't. It does not feel like the Olympics to me. Boxing feels like the Olympics. Even I don't know where you're at with tennis and golf and even like baseball and softball. The thing about the Olympics that I like, and the sports that I tune into are the ones where, again, it is pretty clear that this is the ultimate goal for these individuals. This is why I love watching the swimming. It's why I love watching the wrestling, the gymnastics, the stuff where those athletes. I mean, it is the pinnacle, and it is sports that, again, I completely making up my own rules on what is and isn't, and I couldn't give you a reason why I think some of this stuff is and other stuff isn't. But and it's not that I don't have an appreciation of what some of those people are doing on the skateboards and what some of the rhythmic gymnastics folks are able to do. It is truly amazing. It's wood carving is an amazing skill, but it's just not an Olympic sport. There are lots of things that people can do that I have a genuine appreciation for, but not.
Do you think it's just viewers?
Medals.
Do you think they're just trying to tap into the younger viewers? But I don't think they're even doing that. I just think they're just creating new sports that more American kids are involved with, because they can, my personal opinion, that I mean, how many guys? I mean, to go to the Winter Olympics, the snowboarding and the half pipe and stuff like that. I mean, that's nothing more than just kids. I mean, you have a 13-year-old kid from Japan win a gold medal in skate. I mean, is he the best in the world, or is he just the best because it just became an Olympic sport? And I mean, it's not really a sport when they're 13 years old competing and winning gold medals.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I mean, in gymnastics, and then you just had a 17-year-old win gold in the
13
the swimming. So
13.
Yeah, but
I mean, I know I was 6'4" when I was 13 years old and all that, but geez. Again, I just don't know. Are they just made? Sports are made up because the X Games had such a huge amount of people watching them, and is that why the Olympics are trying to tap into those markets? I don't know.
I
got a question about. I'm watching a boxing match right now. When did we stop wearing headgear in boxing? Did they always forever wear?
Yeah. I think that was just the last Olympics that started. I will say I enjoyed watching some of the men's volleyball only because of it's. I mean, it's basically the Penn State alumnus
society.
It's men's volleyball.
Speaking of headgear, how are those guys not wearing like face masks and stuff by now? I mean, that ball's traveling 400 miles an hour.
Yeah, and
coming with some serious pain behind it.
That is true.
I mean, the women's is damn impressive, but I mean, you get to the men's, and it's just like watching tennis, though, with the power game in tennis versus the power game in women's volleyball. I mean, there's a huge difference in the men's. Like, dude, that's ridiculous what they're doing out there. The athleticism of those cats.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive, man.
All right, we'll take a break here. We are back with more on this Tuesday afternoon. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are coming to you live from Quaker Steak and Lube, and we're back after this.
The State College Spikes are back home tonight at 6:35 to take on the Trenton Thunder. Medler Field at Leblano Park goes to the Dogs on Bark in the Park night. Bring your four-legged friend to the game for a barking good time. Plus, it's $2 Tuesday with outfield bleacher seats, hot dogs, popcorn, and walking tacos, all just $2 a piece. Bark in the Park and $2 Tuesday tonight at 6:35. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent you.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
and we welcome you back in here on this Tuesday afternoon. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show in the midst of the Olympic Games. And I did see the recruiting. Listen, Greg Schiano is a terrific coach. The fact that fans get as worked up about these recruiting announcements, to go to your point with Simone Biles and the hype, why anybody brings, and listen, I love it when they do. So I'm not even criticizing. I think it's fun and I think it's good for sports. Why anybody brings attention and tries to put additional pressure on themselves is just amazing to me. And listen, Penn State's had plenty of recruits that have done it too. Penn State recruits are like, oh man, I can't believe a guy would be so disrespectful. Yes, because no Penn Stater has been disrespectful to other schools when making the selection.
What's the worst you ever remember?
You might want to go back and look at some of the announcements. But listen, at the end of the day, Penn, this is fans just. You need to not, and I get the whole fan is short for fanatic in the whole thing, but you really do need to just relax on the decisions of 17 to 22-year-olds and feeling like you have to make a proclamation and a profound judgment. These guys are making all kinds of decisions for all kinds of reasons, and whether the coaches are in on it or not in on it, again, so what? Penn State's recruiting class, overall, it would be like Cale Sanderson getting all worked up. And listen, Penn State fans were when Nick Soriano left. And I had fans calling me and saying, well, Soriano's never going to win a national title. I'm like, you're out of your mind. That dude is phenomenal, and he's going to be phenomenal no matter where he goes. The secret here is David Taylor. Now, do I think Cale gets a lot, as much out of these guys as possible? Yes. But Do I think David Taylor wouldn't have won national titles if he had gone to East Stroudsburg? If they still had D1 wrestling? When Jack Kuvo won national titles at East Stroudsburg. Why? Because he was great. He was a great wrestler. David Taylor is going to win national titles no matter where he went. Bo Nickel, if he had ended up going to Oklahoma State, which he had considered, he was going to win national titles there. He's a great wrestler. So these guys are great. What Cale does is get more of those great wrestlers to come into his program, and he does do a great job of, getting the most out of them and getting great workout partners and getting the most out of those guys as well. But at the end of the day, it is, and all honest coaches will tell you this, it is about getting more of the, right? It is always the getting the right athletes, that more so than you can be the greatest coach in the world. And if the opposing coach, who's only a mediocre coach in terms of X's and O's, but he has 11 four-star athletes and you have one, you're going to lose 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10.
Unless you're John Cooper.
That's the way that's going to go. Well, sure, there's always exceptions to the rule.
You can have all your stars, but you still got to, they still got to be coachable. They still got to be all that. And
sure.
And then, with the whole recruiting thing, I was asking you earlier, the worst story I ever heard recruiting was Antonio Loganell. He was down in the Maryland area. He went to ESPN Baltimore down in the on the water. And he invited the whole Maryland staff there, and he invited Larry Johnson, and he committed to Penn State. And I remember hearing about the Maryland coaches were furious, and you should be. I mean, why would you invite him? Again, people get so worked up over recruiting and 17 and 18-year-old kids. Some of them are even 16 years old. They worry about them, and they're just like you need to back up a little bit. Look at your life, where you're at right now. Chill out. Wait till they get here and see. Before you get crazy on them.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the big boy in the room, and that's the. Do you think after what Oklahoma and Texas did today, and that's signed with the SEC after the 2025 season, do you think that's the end of it? Or do you think that there's going to be a complete upheaval?
I think there will be a complete upheaval. I was forgetting now who had the headline, but it was the Big 12 is over. It just doesn't know it yet.
Oh, there's no
doubt.
I
think the Big 12 does know it. I didn't even read the article. I just saw the headline, but it was the Big 12 is over and it doesn't even know it yet. I would just about guarantee you the folks involved in the Big 12 know darn well that it is over. And it
was over when they had West Virginia join the conference. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, you got to go that far east to get a team.
So what is interesting to me now is to see just how everything now falls apart / comes together.
Sure.
Because do we see what I don't know yet, and what I don't know if anybody really has a handle on, is exactly how this shakes out. Like, do the remaining Big 12 schools join with, a couple of other, like a couple of Pac-12 schools, or do they just all get plucked off and go to one of the other, and we end up with the 4?
A lot of ways you can go with this.
Conferences, or do you start to see? And this is, when you mention West Virginia, does the Big Ten, from our standpoint, what is fascinating to me now is to watch what happens with the Big Ten and the ACC. And because Oklahoma and Texas were the two big draws, hands down, in the Big 12. And the SEC got the two biggest brands and the two biggest names, certainly in college football and probably throughout athletics, right? Texas and Oklahoma are big time athletic programs, driven by football, as most of the big time programs are, either football or basketball. So
a lot of ways to think about this, bud.
So what I would love to know is what is happening in the Big Ten conference room right now is that discussion, hey, which of these Big 12 schools do we go after? Or let's step back and just, as we were talking about last week, step back and look at the schools that we just want to go after, period.
Yep.
And
I got one for you.
Do you go to like a North Carolina that we were talking about,
Yep.
or a Virginia, and go down the laundry list of schools here? Or does everybody just say, yeah, you know what, let's just kind of divvy up the remainder of the Big 12. We'll pluck a team here, you take a team there. Is the SEC done, or is the SEC open to welcoming in also, an Oklahoma State or a Kansas or an Iowa State? Or is the SEC, nope, we got the two big ones, we're good. And again, I don't know, if you're the Big Ten, I don't think you're just, we'll take anybody else that wants to come, right? Like, I think there are a couple schools that, as we talked about, make sense. Iowa State, I think, would be a pretty good fit in the Big Ten. But I don't know that there's a lot of the other Big 12 schools that feel like a great fit here, at least as we're talking today.
In all sports. Because everybody has their own little certain sports would be great in the Big Ten. Now, I'm going to take this one step further back for you. There's no way, like I talked to Chris off the air and you off the air, how long has the SEC been in contact with Texas and Oklahoma? That does not happen in a 9-day span.
Right.
Okay, so you have to think that the Big Ten sort of had knew something was coming.
I don't know, because I don't think anybody knew when Penn State joined the Big Ten, right? I think it's even harder now to keep those secrets, but it feels like this was. I don't.
Maybe
know.
They were talking about in the back. They were definitely, because this is not happening in 9 days. This is a 6-month process. But did other schools know about it?
Well, that's what I don't. It would not. To some degree, it would surprise me if other schools knew about it and nothing. I mean, because if you're the Big Ten, right, it is to your advantage to
get out ahead of it and do something
a little bit. My and it's just a guess, but my guess is that these other conferences did get caught flat-footed. This was not something that was known to them to be in the works. And again, just my.
I've been doing a ton of research on it and this and that, because I really just think there should be 65 teams and just go with it and make the 4 or 5 conferences, and that's it. And then you have your playoffs from there. It's all the NCAA get out, you're done, which is be perfect for me. It's fine, but that's only for football. We're going to be different than every other sport. Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, they all feel certain things that none of them feel all. I think North Carolina fills that bill, and obviously we talked about Notre Dame last week, ad nauseum. That's the one you want to get. But I'm doing research on this and that about, can the ACC go after Texas and go after Oklahoma and try and make an offer? Like we talked about Thursday, the Big Ten. Why are they not throwing their hat in the ring to Oklahoma and Texas and saying, why don't you come to the Big Ten? You make a lot more money. I looked at the ACC and I was reading about them. Do you know how long? This is so bad. Like, Texas and Oklahoma, their TV rights end in 2025. So they got to play through that contract with their TV rights, and then they're going to join the SEC. Yep. Do you know when the ACC, their television contract is done? 2036.
Is that right?
That's 15 seasons from now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to lock a school like North Carolina and Miami, UVA, and Virginia Tech into those, and they're going to buy their way out. Oh, Lord. I mean, I'm just thinking about it, and I think that they might lock those schools out from leaving and joining another conference. So there's another way, again, we talked off the air of, we're talking about, and there's only one reason that Maryland and Rutgers are in the Big Ten, and that was the Big Ten's getting the Big Ten network into 55 trillion homes. And that was the ultimate goal. There's a reason why the Big Ten network and the Big Ten pays each school $500 million a year or whatever. There's a reason why our athletic programs make a ton of money. That's because of the Big Ten network and what the cable companies pay them to have it.
Yeah.
So, they're talking to Kansas right now, and that's literally the state right below Nebraska. So it keeps the Chris's, do they keep the continuous state thing going? You get the St. Louis market, which is a big market. You get 3 or 4 states out of that. You get into Oklahoma, you take Oklahoma State. And then you cherry pick one of the Texas schools, and I mean, imagine how many more television stations or cable networks and homes you would be in if you picked up those 3 states. And that's a way that the Big Ten could go that no one's talking about. I mean, again, I go back. Rutgers is in the freaking Big Ten. I mean, Maryland at least offered very good women's sports and basketball.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. I guess I can't say that because we lost to them last year in football. So I'll bite my tongue now. But I mean, is it going to be?
Well,
I don't think the Big Ten can. I don't think the Big Ten can stand pat. There's no way. I mean, I like the Colorado idea.
I think you're right about that.
I like the Colorado deal. I love the Pac-12 schools. Well, what are they? Pac-10, 12, 15, whatever they are right now. I like some of them coming over. And Booch said the other day about UCLA, Oregon. Is UCLA Nike still, or are they Adidas? I know USC is Nike. Oregon is Nike. Oregon State's Nike. So it's almost like. Well, I mean, Nike can pick up a lot of these schools, and that's where Phil is, and then join the Big Ten and make a big splash, make 2 very, very good conferences into a great conference, because that's what the SEC is rocking right now.
Maybe eventually that's just what we have. It's the Nike conference, the Under
Armour versus the Reebok
conference, and the Reebok.
West Virginia, Pitt can join the Pro Keds market. They're on the Pro Keds team.
Done with it.
Yep, they're in the Kangaroos team. Only a person in their 50s would know what kangaroos are.
It is going to be interesting to see how this does play out, and what type of discussions are going on. And I really don't have a feel for it. I mean, it seems to me, again, having absolutely no access or knowledge of anything, it seems to me if you're the Big Ten, where I would think you're starting is, I mean, obviously Notre Dame.
Yes.
But I think you're picking, hey, we would love to get 3 of these 5 schools, or, either 2 or 4 of these 5 schools. Let's sit down and target, again, if it's, North Carolina, Notre Dame, again, I'm making, but let's say Iowa State, and, the Texas school thing that you were bringing up is interesting to me. Only, and listen, the money drives everything. So I completely get that. It does not feel, and again, I realize that isn't going to doesn't need to be the case, but the Big Ten feel is right. The big universities, the
land grant institutions and stuff.
Right. I mean, Baylor or Texas Tech, that doesn't have like at all a Big Ten feel to it. Now, Rutgers doesn't have, for different reasons, doesn't have a Big Ten feel to it. So, I mean, and Northwestern, in fairness, isn't when we're talking about the type of school. So. Yeah. I'm not saying that.
That's the argument you can make when people say, well, Oklahoma State's not big enough. Well, Northwestern competes just fine in a lot of sports.
Yeah. And again, you can certainly go down the road in the ever-changing.
I have a friend from Oklahoma, and he's saying, well, Oklahoma State, it's still, there's nothing there. I'm like, have you been to State College, Pennsylvania? I mean, I love it here. I live here. I put my roots down here. Exactly. I mean, we're not talking New York City over here or Boston, Massachusetts. I mean, come on. I mean, it's Stillwater, Oklahoma. There's nothing to do there. Again, we're in State College, Pennsylvania. We're doing just fine. This is great ammo for us to talk about the next month.
Well, yeah, and let me throw one out that I think would be under most people's radar. But I'll mention the school first, and then let's talk a little bit about it. But you're talking about Texas largely to get into homes, right? And recruiting, right? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. If you're getting a Texas school, it's not because Baylor's a great fit with the academic, and Baylor's a great academic school. But it's not the type of school that most of the Big Ten schools are. It is more along the lines of a Northwestern. But if you're going Texas, you've got to at least be thinking about bringing Florida into play, do you not? And if I'm the Big Ten, where I'm
UCF,
Yes, where I am heading is Central Florida, because that is a huge campus.
It's enormous.
A huge alumni base. I
It
really
fits
did
the Big
not.
Ten mold, you're right?
I did not understand how big the alumni base was until we went to Ireland, and I did a little bus tour in Ireland, and there were Central Florida fans. It was probably 40 people on the bus, and I would say there was like 15 Penn State fans, 10 Central Florida, and the other 15 were wondering why in the hell all these college football fans from America were on the bus. But in talking with them, I really had no idea just how big the campus was or how large the alumni base was. And listen, if you put Central Florida, Central Florida is constantly looking for –
Boogie's head spinning right now.
Well, Central Florida is constantly looking for more respect, right? I mean, that was in talking with the fans on that trip. It was like, man, people don't understand how good we are and how good we can be, and certainly then over the coming years. So, to me, if I'm the Big Ten, that's one of the first calls I'm making is Central Florida to see if there's an interest, and I don't know why there wouldn't be from Central Florida's standpoint. But so here's the other part of this, though. At some point, right? And I get history, and I love history, and I'm all about tradition. I love Christmas for that reason, and all of it. But at some point, do we not have to get rid of the SEC if we're going to have Oklahoma and Texas in it? And at some point, like when we get to 25 teams in the Big Ten, can we stop calling it the Big Ten? Or is it, nope, it just has to forever be the Big Ten? No matter how many teams and no matter how ludicrous that name stands. I
ever tell you my story?
I think at some point, I mean, I was kind of kidding when I said it, but I'm telling you, I think you just sell out. Hey, we are going to be the Nike conference, and you line up the 20
that's
schools
who's going to run it
with Nike. That's
they're going to run it.
20 schools that are going to go Under Armour. 22.
And I just figured it out.
Of course, then maybe you trade.
Phil Knight can buy. Phil Knight can have 12 planes centrally located to pick up the visiting team and bring them to the. Oh my God, it's a genius idea. Amazing. What can you do? We got to pick up Hawaii too, Ironhead.
Yes,
for that the live on location Goon and Ironhead show.
There was a good fit for the Big Ten. It is Hawaii once it adds a wrestling program.
Oh Lordy Lord,
telling you that needs to happen.
Yeah, you got me thinking about the UCF thing. I mean, if we're willing to go down to Texas, then you can take all of. Oh, geez. UAB, App State.
If you're the Big Ten, I think. I mean, Notre Dame again. Obviously, I don't know.
I love it. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's the same thing that happened in 1990. It's like it's complete upheaval right now because everybody's running for cover right now, and I think that people with a higher pay grade than you and I, Ironhead, they actually make $3.
Whoa.
Oh, yep. They're high paid people, so they. I think that they're thinking ahead to what's going to happen when the NCAA blows up. They have to be. And I think they got to protect themselves for that. They got to align themselves with the right people, the right programs, the right different schools.
I think the Big 12 conference is over. I think they know it. I think the NCAA is over, and I think it knows it too. I think they're trying to see if they can salvage enough of the big money positions. But I think they also know that the days of the NCAA is now there will be some governing body that will take over.
Phil Knight.
And yes. And
Kevin Plank from Under Armour.
Well, listen, that is going to be the other interesting part. I still don't think, and as much as we've talked about it, as much as we're trying to lock into it, I truly don't think it would be fun. We should record a show maybe Thursday. Well, this is what we think college athletics will look like in 10 years and just see how wrong we are. Because I think we know it's going to be completely different. I think there are things that are coming down the pike that I'm not, and none of us are even thinking of. I think it is going to be such an entirely different world than we know. Maybe that's what we'll do is just kick around some of the things that we think will occur over the next 10 years. And then 10 years, we'll get together and just compare notes on what actually happened and whether we got any of it.
I'm impressed that you think I'm going to make it 10 more years. I had to look back on it, the review show.
Yeah.
Jeez, good for you.
Oh, yeah.
My wife's already got me. She's got me already in a cemetery plot.
It's a nice plot, though. In fairness,
it's yeah. You can bury a piano in there if you need be. So it's perfect for me. A little space for the kid. Yeah. So I was starting vacation Thursday, but I may have to jump on that one, Ironhead. I may have to. But I mean, I'm being serious. I mean, they have you literally. Okay, just take Penn State in Penn State per se. They have to be thinking of like, okay, who was the forward thinker at Penn State? And that's what scares me. You really don't have those people.
Yeah,
we need to protect ourselves the way we did in 1990 when we joined the conference.
Yeah,
I remember Russ Rose told me, he goes, in 1990, all I know is I got a pay raise and I got 4 more scholarships than I had before. Once you joined the Big Ten, because you had to have a certain amount of, and it was a great thing for the Olympic sports. May not have been for football at the time, but it was great for football, bad for basketball, this and that. So it would be very interesting. But did you ever hear the story, the first phone call that Joe got?
No.
You never heard the story? It was a man named Bo from the university. He was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Jeez. And he, I don't know if you know anything. I don't know if you ever knew anything about Bo Schembechler, but he cursed like a sailor, and the old man didn't. And the word is that he picked the phone up and he said, he says, "Hey Glenn, how you doing?" He called him Glenn and said he didn't call Bear. He called Bear Brian Paul. He called Glenn Bo Schembechler Glenn. He goes, "Hey, Glenn, what's going on?" He's like, and he used the word, "You see, sucker, you went behind my back." I had no idea, he had nothing. And that's how Bo Schembechler, Michigan, the bell cow of the Big Ten, had no idea that there was athletic directors and presidents talk about Penn State joining the Big Ten. So us saying Oklahoma and Texas, who knew about it? Yeah, maybe nobody did. If Bo Schembechler didn't know about Penn State being courted, it's pretty impressive.
Meanwhile,
you know what to figure this all out?
Yeah.
If Jim Boeheim was not Jim Boeheim and we just joined and figured out the Big East in the mid-'80s.
Yep. Meanwhile, the juggernaut that is the Pittsburgh Pirates looks like
who they trade
piece
today
by piece being broken up. Looks like Tyler Anderson's out of there. Actually,
he's going to Philadelphia.
To your boys and Frazier's.
Hey, by the way, Kutch had a great homer last night to win the game. Thanks, Ironhead.
Good night, everybody. That's going to do it for today's edition. Discouraging note for yours truly to end.
The Pirates just traded Spanky Lavalier
on Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.
The State College Spikes are back home tonight at 6:35 to take on the Trenton Thunder. Medler Field at Leblano Park goes to the Dogs on Bark in the Park night. Bring your four-legged friend to the game for a barking good time. Plus, it's $2 Tuesday with outfield bleacher seats, hot dogs, popcorn, and walking tacos, all just $2 a piece. Bark in the Park and $2 Tuesday tonight at 6:35. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,